two, one.
Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour podcast. It is Saturday and the divisional round of the playoffs is upon us. But before I dive in and preview the games, let's talk a few news and notes. Last week I didn't do too bad. 5-1 picking the wild card round. One of the games I correctly picked, the Houston Texans knocked out the Pittsburgh Steelers. We were pretty sure it would be the last game for Aaron Rodgers. That still has yet to be confirmed, but it definitely ended up being the last game for Mike Tomlin, who resigned after 19 years with the Steelers. That means 9 head coach openings. Tomlin not expected to be in, at least in this round, maybe not ever, we can't say, but one coach who definitely is John Harbaugh. He has been a hot name since being fired by the Ravens. It looks like we are coming down to the wire with him joining the Giants. The word is they are in contract negotiations. There were a lot of interesting things that came out about potential demands around $20 million a year, which seems to line up. They're talking about around a 5-year, $100 million deal with the Giants. But one of the other things that will be interesting to watch, and maybe why this deal hasn't been complete, is supposedly John Harbaugh wanted total roster control of whatever team he was going to. The Giants obviously already have a general manager in Joe Shane, kind of an embattled general manager. There were some questions about whether he was going to stay with that team, how that was going to work this offseason. Could that be one of the things that's hanging up? Will things remain the same? Was it just rumors about what Harbaugh would want? I guess that all remains to be seen. They are supposedly close, supposedly pretty much a done deal, but we will see how things stand. It is not officially official as we are on the air right now, but looking like the Giants may be the first one to fill their coaching opening. If you followed my piece on Campus to Canton a couple weeks ago, Giants were the most attractive opening to me. I was looking at it mostly from a fantasy football standpoint, but a lot of good young talent in skill positions on offense. They have a couple of good young pass rushers that are under contract. So there are a lot of pieces to like about the Giants, despite how rough they finished this year. Well, that is a look at some of the news and notes. Let's transition to our preview. We reached the divisional round. There are 4 playoff games, 8 teams left, 2 games today, 2 games on Sunday. Let's dive in. First of those games at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, the 12-5 Buffalo Bills at the 14-3 Denver Broncos. The Bills were the 6th seed, knocked the Jaguars out in the wild card round, as I had predicted. The Denver Broncos, the number 1 seed, coming off a bye. They are hosting it at home. Not a particularly warm day, but that won't really matter to either team. Not expected to be very snowy. There was a light dusting. I am in Colorado Springs. There was light dusting this morning. It's supposed to have been a light dusting this morning in Denver as well, but I don't really think that'll have an impact on the game. It's supposed to be in the 30s to around 40 by the time it kicks off, descending into the upper 20s, but it's Buffalo. Not going to be a big impact there. The real question is, do the Bills have enough? Josh Allen has been Superman, throwing them on his back. They have James Cook. They have run pretty well against Denver in some recent meetings, including last year in the wild card playoffs. But this Denver team and this defense, very strong, better team at home. Questions probably a little bit about the Denver offense, but this is going to be a fascinating matchup of these two teams. I think either of them could win. I don't expect a very high-scoring game. I am going with the Broncos at home to win and advance, but it makes me a little nervous. Probably my fandom here making me a little nervous, but we see how it goes. The evening game on Saturday night, the night game, is the 6th-seeded San Francisco 49ers, who upset the Eagles. They are 12-5 at the 14-3 Seattle Seahawks, the number 1 seed. Came out late yesterday that Sam Darnold dealing with an oblique injury. He is still expected to play, but that puts a little damper on things. The 49ers obviously played the Seahawks twice this season. They are in the same division. They played in week 1 of the regular season in Seattle. The Seahawks won 17-13. They played week 18 of the season in San Francisco, and the Seahawks won 13-3. 49ers are still beat up. Fred Warner not going to be able to come back. George Kittle obviously lost for the season. Ricky Pearsall with a knee injury. We don't know if he plays, how good he could play, what he has left. That kind of puts a lot more pressure on Christian McCaffrey, Jawan Jennings, maybe a young Jake Tonjes, Brock Purdy. And on defense, the Seahawks and the Broncos are similar in that they have some offensive talent. They can put together some good offense at times, but it's not always incredibly reliable. That being said, Seahawks are -7, the biggest favorite of the round. I think they get the win. A touchdown might be too many points, but I have the Broncos and the Seahawks advancing on Saturday. What about the Sunday games? Well, the early game that takes place at 3 Eastern is the 5th-seeded Houston Texans, 12-5 themselves, at the 14-3 New England Patriots, who are the number 2 seed in the AFC. Patriots were able to beat the Chargers in the wild card round. The Texans a 30-6 win in Pittsburgh on Monday night. No Nico Collins here. Christian Gonzalez did clear concussion protocol, so a little bit interesting. The Texans will be shorthanded on offense, but their defense has really carried the day for them. The Patriots defense has been very stout too and has helped them. This is another game, feels like it's going to be in the teens. Both of the AFC matchups, I don't expect many high scoring, high volume antics. And the first 3 playoff games that we've talked about, I expect to be a little more low scoring because all of the teams in there are more probably heavily focused on defense, not the 49ers as much, but the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Texans, the Patriots, very good clamp down defenses and offenses that sometimes can be a little hit or miss. I think that's the case in New England too, but ultimately, to me, it comes down to choosing between CJ Stroud and Drake May. Stroud has had some moments. He had a great rookie year. He had some moments this year. He really struggled in that wild card game. He fumbled 5 times, only lost 2 of them, but that's a little bit alarming. Also threw an interception. He had a real hard time hanging onto the ball. If he does those kind of things again, that is going to be really tougher to overcome against a Patriots team that I think executes at a little higher level. Drake May has been in the MVP conversation for a reason. I think he makes enough big plays. I have the Patriots pulling this one out. So that would set up an AFC championship game of the Broncos and Patriots if it plays out as I suspect. I picked the Seahawks already. What about the second of the NFC games? This is the 6:30 Eastern game for Sunday, and it is the 5th-seeded Los Angeles Rams, who finished 12-5, at the 2nd-seeded Chicago Bears, who finished 11-6. The Bears were behind big in the wild card round, but managed to come back and beat the Green Bay Packers. The Rams, meanwhile, were expected to win big in Carolina, but that game was a lot closer than anyone anticipated. Still, they were able to get it done in the end, and they have a very good offense. What scares me a little bit about the Bears is this tendency to put themselves kind of in a huge hole and then be the cardiac Bears and come back. And that's worked against some teams. I was surprised, frankly, they were able to come all the way back against the Packers last week. Thrilled because I had picked the Bears, but a little bit surprised. I don't know if you can do the same thing against the Rams. Now, as I say that, we saw Carolina hanging tough after giving up an early lead, surging ahead in the 4th quarter. This game, I don't think is going to be a big pull away. The Rams are favored by 3.5 points, which feels about right. There's a reason a lot of us like the Rams and the NFC West teams in general the most going into the NFC in the playoffs. And I think ultimately we get 2 NFC West teams in the NFC Championship game. I have the Rams pulling it out Sunday night in Chicago. So my 4 winners: Broncos over the Bills, Seahawks over the 49ers, Patriots over the Houston Texans, and the Rams over the Chicago Bears. That would set up a Patriots-Broncos AFC championship game, which would feel like a throwback to about a decade ago when we had a couple big matchups between Manning and Brady. Maybe the new one is May and Knicks. And that would set up Seahawks-Rams 3, and both of those games have been bangers. So if that was the NFC championship game, that would be pretty exciting. we will see how it goes and how it all plays out as the games go through. But hope you guys are excited for a couple of big time days of football. And I will see you next week to preview the conference championship games. And maybe we'll have a few more coaching openings to talk about. Until then, enjoy the playoffs.